Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to the Insurance Apprentice. I'm your host, Simon Coleman from SHA, and thank you for joining us once again. Thank you all for the posts on social media this past week, and don't forget to use hashtag TIA2021. Maybe tell us who your favorite judge is. This episode is brought to you by the FSCA, which is the market conduct regulator and of course the supervisor of financial institutions. Now, this week's challenges have been presented by the FSCA and will focus on the recent contingent business interruption claims that flowed from the COVID-19 lockdowns. Now, as you know, for the past 4 weeks, we've been on a quest to find South Africa's ultimate ambassador of the short-term insurance industry. We're halfway there, and we finally selected our top 8. Let's give them a warm welcome. Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi.
You've had a little bit of time to relax, feeling more comfortable with what's going to happen? Yeah, you guys sound like you're already going home. We could make that happen if you don't feel like going through this next bit.
We're not interested in going back home.
Okay, you're in it to win it, so to speak. All right, so last week I announced that we've confirmed 2 wildcards from previous episodes to complete our top 10, who've been randomly selected for a second chance at becoming the Insurance Apprentice 2021. During the week, I decided to give them both a call to break the good news. Let's take a look. Hey guys, so as you know, we've got these 2 wild cards, which we've randomly selected, pulled out of a hat basically. So I'm going to be calling the 2 contestants now. First, I'm going to be calling Masachaba. She just narrowly missed getting into the top 8. So let's give her a call and see what she says. Masachaba.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Hello.
It's Simon. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I'm in my pajamas.
Well, this is brilliant. So, the reason I'm calling you is because I like to phone all the losers. I just get a kick out of it, really.
That must be fun.
So let's not take too long. I've got 50 more calls to make.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. I've got some good news and some bad news. What do you want first?
Bad news first. Let's end on a high.
Okay, the bad news is you're going to be stuck with me for another month or so. Because the good news is you're one of the wildcard competitors and you're going to be coming back and joining us for the rest of the competition.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I just you're doing your homework.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll let you gather your thoughts and get back to whatever you were doing in your pajamas. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay, have a great evening.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Bye. All right, let's give John a call. He's our next wild card. Hope he answers. Come on, John, pick up. If John doesn't answer, he's out of the competition. Hey, John.
Hi, Simon.
How's it going, man?
Well, thank you, yourself.
I like to phone all the losers afterwards and just find out if they're okay. You're right.
Just to check if I'm alive.
Well, look, John, I've got some good news and a little bit of bad news for you. Which do you want first?
I could do some good news.
Okay, well, the good news and the bad news, I guess, is that, we've got a couple of wild cards that we give away at the end of the first round. So we have 8 finalists. We're still short 2. I've just made another call, and you are the 10th finalist. So you're coming back to the studio for the next few episodes.
Like I said, that's my 4th time. I've really gone and tried to upskill and reinvent myself. And it is quite a massive relief to just get this amazing news.
Well, you're in with a chance now, man, and best of luck to you. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much, Simon. See you soon.
Cheers.
Thank you to the rest of the team as well.
Pleasure. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
John and Masichaba, welcome to the top 10.
Thank you.
Masichaba, I didn't recognize you without your pajamas. Oops. John, how are you doing? You were very relaxed when I spoke to you on the phone.
Yeah, getting ready for bed almost. So timing is not the best, Simon.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're glad you could join us, so welcome and good luck to both of you. Right, so that completes the top 10 who will battle for the prestigious title of Insurance Apprentice 2021. Aside from the honor of making it into the finals, all 10 contestants will be getting a professional profile photo shoot sponsored by AIG, Santam gift bags, Batu vouchers valued at 1,000 Rand from Simply Financial Services, and Ultraverse is also giving away professional coaching and mentorship packages. So congratulations to all of you for making it this far.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see you getting excited, but before you do, not only do you have to make it through another grueling round of rapid risk, but you also have to survive a brand new challenge that is going to test you like never before. But before we get there, it's time for rapid risk. In Rapid Risk, our contestants will be asked 10 multiple choice questions. For every correct answer, they will be awarded 6 points, which will move them up the leaderboard. The first person to get that answer correct scores an additional 4 points. The contestant with the lowest score at the end of the game will be eliminated, while the remaining 9 contestants will of course advance to the next round. Incidentally, one of our viewers asked me this week how the contestants are expected to know the answers to these questions. Now, each of the finalists received an enormous bundle of content which they had to study. So think of it as doing a phase exam every week. Not pleasant. So with that, let's get into Rapid Risk. Contestants, what type of cover would a policyholder need to have in place to claim for losses suffered when businesses were closed due to the COVID-19 national lockdown? Is it A, business interruption cover, covering perils such as fire, lightning, resulting in loss of revenue? B, business interruption with an infectious disease extension, resulting in loss of income or revenue? C, business continuity management cover? Or D, disaster management cover? And the correct answer, of course, is B, business interruption with an infectious diseases extension, resulting in loss of income or revenue. And the fastest correct response was Sumit. Sumit coming in strong, straight out of the starting blocks. How are you feeling?
Yeah, ready for it, Simon.
Okay, let's see how you do.
Let's move on to the next question.
All right, let's move on. Next question. Business interruption cover was underwritten by A, all the insurers comprising the insurance industry in South Africa, B, only licensed life insurers, C, only licensed non-life insurers, or D, only brokers selling on behalf of insurers. Could this be a trick question? Get those answers in. Time is up. The correct answer was C, only licensed non-life insurers. And the fastest correct answer was Brendan. I hope we're seeing a trend developing here, and this isn't the last we see of you getting those fastest response points. I've just been told, Masichaba, you had the fastest response we've yet recorded in this game. Unfortunately, it was the incorrect answer, which is also an interesting strategy. What was going on there?
The finger slipped.
You just need to be first, no matter what.
Yeah, no. I'll come in right at the top, no matter what happens.
Masichaba representing loss adjusters, ladies and gentlemen. No judgment here from the underwriter and me. All right. Let's move on. How many categories of policy wordings were found in the South African market with regards to BI cover with valid claims? Was it A, 7, B, 5, C, 6, or D, 3? Very specific answers being requested here. All right, the correct answer was C, 6, and the fastest response, bonus points going to Masichaba. What is this? Everybody having a go at getting these bonus points. Game on, Masichaba.
Yes.
All right, next question. Complete the sentence. The BI matter should have been investigated by A, the Prudential Authority only. If BI claims were paid, it could have resulted in insolvency for insurers. B, by National Treasury only, because this issues of this nature require significant policy changes. C, by both the FSCA and the Prudential Authority, as this issue cuts across policyholder rights and the solvency of insurers. Or D, by the FSCA only, because this impacts the rights and protection of policyholders. Which is it? The correct answer was C, by both the FSCA and the PA. And the fastest response and those critical bonus points was John. John out of the starting blocks. One of our wild cards.
Wild cards is on the cards.
All right, next question. During the period of uncertainty, while the insurers were waiting for legal certainty, insurers should have A, paid relief payments to all the BI claimants, B, rejected all the BI claims immediately, C, where possible, relief payments to qualifying claimants, engagement on process and complaints resolution, or D, paid the BI claims regardless of the outcome of the legal certainty in the litigation process. Get the answers in. All right, there were 6 correct answers there. The correct response we were looking for was C, where possible, relief payments to qualifying claimants. And the fastest response in that round was Brendan.
Thanks.
I don't know, you've got this kind of smile on your face like you know stuff. Is it
It's
preordained
all-
in some way?
Well, let's hope so.
Right, next question. The FSCA asked insurers to consider the following factors when assessing the burden of proof. Was it A, whether the burden of proof amounts to a barrier to policyholders? B, consider obtaining proof itself? C, reduce some of the requirements for proof? Or was it D, a combination of A and B? Get your answers in. And the correct answer was D, which was a combination of A and B. And the bonus points in this round, Masichaba again, the trifecta. Masichaba, you're doing extremely well here. Don't you think you should throw a few crumbs to your competitors?
Please.
I did make that one mistake.
Oh, the deliberate mistake, guys. You need to gather those crumbs as they fall from the table of Masichaba. The mini cheddars. Right. Kevin, let's have a quick chat. Apparently, your strategy was to wait until the last second before you logged that absolutely critical wrong answer. What were you thinking? Kevin?
The thing is, I read it, so now I'm thinking
There was
I
a
want to
little...
choose the right answer, but now I can't remember it. So I can't bring myself to bring back the
I know the
article.
feeling your brain had muted your hands. It's common in these types of events. Let's move on to the next question. After legal certainty was obtained, what was some of the guidance the FSCA gave to the industry to assist with the quantification of claims, which was an issue identified which policyholders were struggling with? Was it A, consider lenience with the processing of late claims? Was it B, for smaller businesses, consider waiving requirement for audited financials? Was it C, use an FAQ to aid policyholders with claims documentation? Or was it D, all of the above? It was always my favorite option at school. Okay, correct answer was actually D, C, favorite option at school, and the fastest response, those critical bonus points. Dimitri, back in the game. Yes, Dimitri, you. Stop looking so confused.
I did not expect that.
Look, he's been overtaken by his own brilliance. Come on, Dimitri, keep doing it. All right, guys, game on. It's anybody's game at this point. Next question. In instances where the BI insurer receives late notification of claims, the insurer should A. Immediately reject those claims as the policy wording states that claims cannot be submitted late. B. Make inquiries regarding the reasons for the late notice and if valid assess those claims. C. Make inquiries regarding the delay in submitting the claims. Or D. Immediately pay the late claims. Log your answers. Your time is up. 10 correct answers. That's everybody. And the answer was B. Make inquiries. The fastest response was, of course, Fiona. Fiona, it's been a while since we've heard from you. I thought you drifted off to sleep in the distance there.
No, still here, still awake.
Still back in the game, right. Let's take a look at that leaderboard. Melissa still rooted to the bottom, but only 12 points away from Anele and Kevin. So a fastest response could really change things at the bottom of the table. Up at the top, we still have Masechaba, our wild card, still in the lead. Also followed by Brendan, Fiona and John. Taffy sitting in the middle of the table. Remember, it's the lowest score that gets eliminated from this part of the competition. So all that focus on the bottom. Melissa, there is a tragedy unfolding here. What is going on?
It's a very slow day today.
Right, you do
Absolutely
realize
slow.
that the lowest score is the one that gets eliminated.
I did, and I'm not having a good day.
Okay, well, we're
Not at all.
halfway through now, so you've got a chance to get back on the leaderboard. Anele, you're heavily at risk in the bottom of the table there. Do you want to share that strategy with us?
Strategy now is to answer quickly.
Get that answer in, but it has to be the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Complete the sentence. In instances where an insurer makes amendments to its policy wording to exclude COVID-19 related cover, should it A, ensure that these changes are timeously communicated, or B, it should ensure that these changes are clearly communicated, C, it should ensure that these changes are appropriately communicated, or is it D, all of the above? Remember the high school strategy. All right, the correct answer was D. Everybody but one person got that correct. The fastest correct answer was Fiona, who moves comfortably into second place. Well done, Fiona.
Thank you.
All right, next question. Your final question of the day. The current policyholder protection rules to the Short-Term Insurance Act is only applicable to natural persons or juristic persons with a threshold of under 2 million. This means that A, all juristic persons are included in the scope of the protection offered under these rules. B, many entities with BI policies are currently excluded from the protection offered under the rules. C, the FSCA needs to reconsider the threshold so that more companies enjoy the protection under the rules. Or D, option B and C combined. Get those answers in. The correct answer was D, which was a combo of B and C, and the fastest response was Sumit. Never too late to join the game.
Never too late.
I see you've been consistently getting the correct answers, which is why you've managed to successfully hide somewhere in the middle of the table. But well done for getting noticed when it really counted at the end. All right, let's take a look at that leaderboard. So comfortably in first place, we had Masechaba, followed by Fiona, Brendan, John, Dimitri. And then down at the bottom of the table, a very tough competition happening between Anele, Kevin, and Melissa. Melissa trying to make a comeback at the end, but I'm afraid you've been found to be unfit and improper. You've been debarred and dismissed. Melissa, it is time for you to leave the competition. Goodbye. Coming up after the break, we meet our judges who will finally be joining me in the hot seats as we introduce our new brutal challenge for the remaining contestants. We'll be right back.
What used to be known as the Financial Services Board, or FSB, is now referred to as the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, the FSCA. While the FSB was responsible for regulating non-banking financial institutions, the FSCA now has a broader mandate and a responsibility towards regulating all financial institutions, this including their conduct and the way they treat their customers. The regulator has in the past faced numerous challenges, among those is being labelled as a reactive entity. Thus, the new strategy caters for such. And coupled with delivering efficient and timeous industry regulation, keeping up with technological advancement is also high up on the FSCA agenda.
And welcome back to the Insurance Apprentice. We continue our quest to find the ultimate ambassador of the short-term insurance industry. And joining us this week, from the FSCA, please welcome Mahompi Rapasha. Welcome, Mahompi.
Thank you, Simon. Good to be here.
Why was this important for you guys to sponsor this task as the FSCA?
It continues to be a topical issue that affects businesses regardless of size, whether they are small or big, and they have been impacted, and we think that it is a topic that we need to find solutions, even us as a regulator.
Oh, perfect.
Thanks.
Well, let's hope the contestants pick up on that. And on my right, as an official judge for this season, please welcome the Managing Director of Zon Risk and the winner of the Insurance Apprentice 2018, Nox Dlamini.
Thanks, Simon. That's one heck of an intro.
Welcome. Good for you to be here.
On the right side this
on
time.
On my side of the desk.
Absolutely.
There is something I've been meaning to ask you about, though. There's this WhatsApp chat that's been brought to my attention. I see you said, I hate Judge Dredd, like hate him, hate him, hate him. Crying faces, sweating. Hope you organized counseling after this year's competition. Do you want to kind of talk me through that? I mean, hate is a pretty strong word.
Well, Simon, I think I'm in good company because after this season, all these apprentices in front of us are going to understand those sentiments.
Yeah, they're going to hate me as well.
Oh, they'll get it.
I think I'm the one that needs some counseling after this little interaction. Anyway, welcome, Nox.
Thank you.
And without further ado, it's time for our new challenge, Premium Presentation. And in Premium Presentation, the contestants are divided into two groups. Following a brief from our episode sponsor, each team will be given 5 minutes in a private breakaway room to construct a spot presentation using their collaborative insurance expertise. Each team will have 4 minutes to present, and the time must be divided equally amongst the team members. Now, as you can see, we also have buzzers in front of us. If the team's presentation is poor and deviates from the brief, the judges, myself included, may hit the buzzer at any time. If a team gets 3 buzzers, they will have to stop their presentation immediately. After each presentation, the teams will receive feedback from the judges. We will then deliberate and decide on the losing team, sending the weakest contestant packing. All right, I'm going to hand over to you now, Mahompi.
Thank you very much, Simon. My name is Mahompi Rapasha. I head up the insurance supervision at the FSCA. Today's task is very interesting. I like it, and then I hope you will also enjoy it. It's on business interruption. As you know, this is a topical issue at the moment. So what I want you to do is to cast your mind back to last year when the government imposed the national lockdown in March, which impacted a number of businesses, and that resulted in non-life insurers that provide business interruption cover receiving numerous claims. So today's task, I want you to pretend as if you are an employee of the FSCA. You are going to advise me on specific issues. The one thing that I don't know and I want to know from you is what are the causes or the cause of the dispute between non-life insurers and their policyholders. And I also want you to go a step further and tell me how non-life insurers, intermediaries, and reinsurers caused that dispute or contributed to that dispute. So that's the second part of it, how they contributed or caused that. And then finally, the last part of the task then is the lessons learned for the FSCA. What can the FSCA do in relation to each of those stakeholders that I've mentioned? I want you to keep in mind that there will probably be challenges that the FSCA will face, and then I want you to highlight those challenges to me and how we can overcome those challenges.
Thanks, Mahompi, and absolutely critical and extremely relevant task today. So you've already been divided into two teams. You'll have 5 minutes in your breakaway rooms. Use it extremely wisely. So in Team A, we've got Fiona, Anele, Dimitri, John, and Kevin. And in Team B, we've got Masachaba, Taffy, Brendan, and Sumit. Your time starts now. Knox, what do you reckon? What would you be going through right now if you were taking part in this?
Absolute terror. I mean, first is the fact that the FSCA unexpectedly is the first real
that's
task
always
that
one
they
of
have.
the tougher ones.
Right,
yeah.
so I think that's going to throw them off a little bit.
Yeah, we've got 1 minute each. Guys, can you see the Can you see the PowerPoint document?
No.
No, we can't.
So the first question is anyone else happy to share their presentation, or you happy that I do so?
We don't have any reinsurers, unfortunately, which is one of the parties you referred to. We've got a pretty good mix of broker and insurer. Who do you think is going to benefit from their field that they work in?
I think maybe insurers, those that are coming from insurance companies. But it's not everyone coming from an insurance company, because it's not all insurance companies that provide this CBI cover.
Sorry to bother you, to jump in, Kevin. It's not misrepresentation, but it is
Interpretation.
Interpretation, sorry.
Interpretation, yeah.
Yes, so everybody agrees on the interpretation by the customer and insurers of the policy wording with these clause is the main clause.
I think it's very important to realize that when we were discussing this with the insurance industry, we got the sense that insurance companies were likely to follow the approach that is adopted by their reinsurers.
Policyholders, on the other hand, felt that it was unfair to limit the effect of the claim itself, to limit the claim itself to one particular outbreak within a specified radial limit.
The question I asked Mahompi was, will it benefit the insurer or the broker in the group?
Correct.
But actually, if you approach it from your own perspective and you work in an insurance company, you're going to miss the point of the task.
And I think, that's a big challenge that they have. I mean, if they're coming from the insurer environment, they're obviously going to lean on the expertise and knowledge and the insights that they have. And then they run the danger of them leaning too heavily in favor of the insurers.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Given that's point two.
Look at the question in the wrong way. We should be looking at the question in the perspective of an insurer. What did I do wrong as an insurer to cause that dispute?
I disagree with that, Kev. I disagree with that.
I mean, if you look at this, we have seen some of the endorsements that insurance companies are also coming up with, I think you have to think beyond this COVID-19. You have to think beyond the lockdown.
If there was a claim, what was going to be the settlement like in terms of insurers are saying they're going to exclude the lockdown expense or
the losses suffered as a result of the lockdown. And I think if we could take one step back though, because remember the intention of your general assets or commercial policy is to cover loss following physical damage.
There are other risks there that insurance companies are facing, like cyber, as you have mentioned, issues like climate risk. How can, if we are not dealing with this situation correctly, how can that impact on future cover?
We're running out of time, guys. So let's move. We need to move on to the next part, because we've only got 1 minute I think, per person, and we need to move on very quickly.
So yeah, I'm hoping that we don't have to press these red buzzers.
Oh, I'm hoping we do.
But you're hoping we do press them. Yeah. So yeah, let's see what they come up with. All right, teams, time is up. We're going to start off with Team A. Your time starts now.
Welcome, guys. Thank you. Today our aim today is to provide an objective view for the regulators, stakeholders, and insurers and policyholders. The main causes for this debate, in our view, is the national lockdown versus COVID as a trigger for BI business interruption claims, and the interpretation of policy wordings at the time of loss.
So as the FSCA, we've picked up that the main causes of disputes mainly came from the various interpretations coming from insurers, reinsurers, intermediaries, brokers, as well as the customers on the policy wordings and the CBI extensions. The validity of claims submitted was also dismissed by many insurers when there was a lack of understanding on what classified a claim. Various stakeholders in the various aspects, being the insurers and reinsurers, were awaiting legal certainty and the type of claims that were submitted there. There were many conditions that also applied to delay the processes and outcomes, and a large exposure was carried by insurers who weren't able to carry a risk themselves and then relied on reinsurance.
So what can be done better? If you're looking at what the role of insurers played, we recommend that their wordings be much more clearer and much more simpler. We also recommend that the FSCA play a bigger role in reinsurance agreements, as this will enable insurers to be able to make a decision and the FSCA to make a decision as well, instead of having to wait for legal certainty from courts, making the process or speeding up the process as well. And also lastly, in regards to brokers, that they sell all available covers to clients and give them the option to decide whether they want cover or not, instead of just placing clients where they can find the cheapest available cover.
So the outcome and the way forward for the FSCA with the rulings that have come forward so far is to continue to keep insurers accountable in order to maintain that the financial sector can remain stable, to ensure that customers are fully informed and educated of the products that are available to them, and to ensure that TCF, treating customer fairly, remains at the front of mind for all institutions operating in the financial services space.
Yes.
Thank you.
In conclusion to everything that has been said, we can say that the common denominator for all of this was the interpretation of the policy wording. And with that having said, is that the FSCA was tasked with the task to go and find out how can this be kept at a later stage. So we needed to make sure that we keep the integrity of the industry. So in keeping the integrity of the industry, we are not biased to either the insurer or the customer. So we needed to come up with a fair outcome. So we found out that in future, we need to make sure that we communicate clearly to our customers and we try to keep things simple for them to understand. And when we also, as the insurer, do not understand, we also need to wait before we process the claim and tell the client that we're still investigating, provide continuous feedback to our clients.
Thank you, team. All right, let's see. We got any questions? Mahompi, anything from you initially?
You say that the FSCA should be more involved in reinsurance agreement. Currently, the FSCA does not regulate reinsurers. It regulates insurers. So I just want to understand, when you say we should be more involved in reinsurance agreements, how do you propose that we do that?
It's a very difficult one to manage because there's so many parties involved, but I don't know if it's a direct involvement with reinsurers or whether it's just making sure that the insurers processes with their relationship with it could be a reinsurer or it could be multiple reinsurers in some instances. So it makes it it makes it harder for the end user of the insurance, which is the customer, to have a decision made, because the insurer is halting on making that decision because they're waiting on their third party. So I don't know if that could be looked at in a different regulatory light.
The contract that the policyholder has a contract with the insurance company. So technically speaking, you wouldn't expect the insurer to be able to wiggle out of it just saying, look, we're waiting for our reinsurers. I know that this was a very special set of circumstances, but I'm not sure you're really answering the question. You know, how could the FSCA influence that transaction without being accused of overreach, I guess is what we're saying.
I think from our side, we'd like the FSCA to provide a guideline to say, as the FSCA, we're saying that sort out whatever contractual agreements that you have in the background, they should not impact and affect negatively or prejudice the client.
But how do I say to an insurer that the fact that your reinsurer is not coming on board cannot be used as an excuse? You must think of yourself as a conduct regulator, and your primary mandate is to have fair outcomes for policyholders. Thank you.
I have a question. Do you think that the FSCA should be more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but more forceful in making sure that there's no ambiguity in policy documentation? So broad of pandemics, that sort of thing. And if so, how would that happen, Dimitri?
At the end of it all, our main concern and the main concern of the FSCA is for having the customers being treated fairly. And I mean, doing nothing about it will not help the point. So something will have to be done about it in order to ensure that the customers are treated fairly. The how is that's gonna take a bit of time to figure out, in my view.
All right. Any final words from you, Mahompi?
Yeah. Look, I think we hear what the challenge is, but the solution, which is also what we are looking for, we are not getting it from the team. There is further engagements that is required as to the how part. So striking that balance, it is challenging. I do understand, and thank you for your attempt.
All right, thank you, Team A, for your presentation. Team B, the virtual floor is yours. Your time starts now.
Good afternoon, judges. The main cause for the dispute between insurers and policyholders was the fact that the trigger event, whether or not lockdown was the trigger event in terms of the policy, is that was met with different interpretations from the policyholder and the insurers. The insurers hold the view that for the policy to be triggered, an identified case had to occur either at the premises or within a radial limit, and lockdown was not the trigger for that. While the policyholders believe that lockdown was a cause due to the fact that it was the government response to COVID-19. So hence, that was the main dispute between the two.
In terms of the contributing factors, there were almost two camps of insurers. We had one group of insurers who came in and straight from the onset told the public that there was no cover under the policy for this event, and that was the end of their story in that regard, and that led to various legal proceedings. On the other hand, we had the insurers that had then not communicated their intention from the onset, and from these insurers we saw two problems. The first one being the delay. There was a delay in the registration of claims due to a lack of preparedness to deal with an event of this magnitude. And secondly, insurers went to go seek legal opinion on the interpretation of the policy and whether cover existed for these types of claims or for this event, and that then caused a delay between the communication of whether the insurer believed that there was cover under the policy or not. And this aggravated the insureds as they were sitting at home and wondering if their businesses would continue beyond the national lockdown, and were desperate for funds that they felt they were entitled to in terms of their policies to keep their businesses going. With regards to the intermediaries, and in most cases the brokers, there was a perception, or they created an expectation with the policyholder that you have this extension within your policy, and as a result of having the extension within your policy, you definitely have cover and you will eventually receive money or some sort of indemnification from the insurers. And obviously when it came about that, well, it's looking like there's no cover for the lockdown and it's looking like insurers are not going to pay out claims for this event, then the policyholders became irate, became angry, because they were sitting with the expectation that these claims were going to be paid out. And lastly, with the reinsurers, they really held the reins for the insurers themselves, because the insurers would have needed them to come to the party in order to pay out any claims. And at the time, they were experiencing a similar problem to
Master Chaba, you've gone 2 minutes over time there. You're eating into your teammates' time. Can we move on, please?
Absolutely.
Our proposed solution talks to two main aspects. It's communication and education. Communication in terms of the actual insurer and reinsurers actually communicating to the intermediaries to advise them as this is the way we're moving forward in terms of the circumstances and the claims, and this is how we're treating the claims going forward, so that the insurer is able to now take that information and interpret it so that they're able to set the right expectations for their clients. Now, the problem that we have is that there was no proactiveness in terms of how it was dealt with. So there was no procedure as such to inform the...
Sorry, your time is up. I'm afraid Master Chaba went overtime, which means we didn't get through all of the speakers. Yeah. Master Chaba, how do you feel about that?
I apologize, guys.
Yeah, look, I think you guys have to really concentrate hard. You need a timer, each of you, otherwise it's not fair on your teammates. And of course, Sumit, that means you've actually been prejudiced by this. So let's talk through it. Let's see if you can articulate this without doing the presentation. How would you have concluded that, Sumit?
Yes, so, to sum it up, it was really what can the FSCA do to prevent similar situations and disputes from happening in the future? And, it was the question you ask yourself, do we impose more regulation? And in our environment that is already so highly regulated, the question one should ask themselves is, okay, how is our consulting process is going to go? Big business might be able to adapt to new regulation as they have been doing in the past, but small business, how do they bring that into the business when they don't have or possess the amount of skills that big business usually do? How can the likes of ITA come in and train small business and bring in personnel to ensure that the broker understands and is clear about what they're selling to the client at the end of the day? I think in the past, the soft market has really done a number on a lot of us in that, insurers are just signing off wordings, not really checking.
Sorry, I'm enjoying your animated presentation here, but what is your point?
My point being made is that it's going to be an absolute, it's going to take long in terms of the consulting process and everything of that sort to change regulation. Yes, hi, sorry.
What is the solution?
The solution is God. Now I'm God. So
now we're going to have to get religious here, calling in higher powers to help us through this.
The solution is training and development. I think that's the pillar, the foundation of everything.
Training and development.
That is it.
Creative idea, put it on the table.
Yeah.
Mahompi?
the presentation was unfortunately, in my opinion, not quite well structured. And I had difficulties in following. You have the issue of policy wordings being unclear as one of the contributory factors. And I don't agree with that. So that's really the main source of the dispute. If you look at this court decisions, is about the policy wording. So what you started with as the main issue being COVID versus lockdown, that takes you to the policy wording. So that's really the main cause. So I think that point you missed, but I think some of the issues that you identified are correct. The delay in lodging claims, where you also talked about the point that I liked was where you talked about insurers, intermediaries having created an expectation that policyholders have got this cover. So I think that was a good point.
Knox is writing out an essay here, so be prepared, guys. I'm just warning you. You're going to get hate WhatsApps after this.
Guys, thanks for that. I really do wish we'd heard more. The onus to learn is always placed on the consumer. For us as the professionals to sit here and say the consumers need to know more, but the consumer base is seeking out advice from professionals, from intermediaries. So are you saying they're not getting this education? Are you saying that we need to do more? Just talk me through that.
Yes, so I think the responsibility between the insurer and the broker to reach consensus on all agreements that they have in place, not just be grey about things and say, oh, we'll deal with it when the claim comes, and then you have a black swan event and everything is blown out of proportion. But I think brokers do need to be held to account because, and I do apologize to all the brokers out there because I know this is a difficult market and we are just chasing our tails, it seems like in some cases, but we have to give good advice, give the correct advice, the appropriate advice. That's my piece. I don't know if any of my peers would like to add to that, guys.
I want to shift the spotlight to Brendan for a second. Brendan, I for some reason I feel like I had a sort of memory lapse when you were speaking. Did you address the reinsurance issue? No. Did anyone address reinsurance?
I had just started and then I'd gone over the time already. So you put the buzzer on me.
Okay, so you've had enough airtime, Masichaba, so I'm not going to ask you about it again. Brendan, what was your point? I missed that.
My point was just the proposed solution. So the proposed solution was that the intermediaries and the insurers actually be more proactive in the manner in which they approach the whole situation. It's just that the communication lines needed to be clear between the insurers as well as the intermediaries so that they're able then to pass that information on to the client at the end of the day to avoid any disappointments.
Out of interest, who was the leader in this team?
That would be.
Thank you.
Wow. You concealed that fact perfectly, Sumit. All right. Yeah, thank you, team, for your presentation. We'll do our deliberations and we'll get back to you. So my initial response was, if you can't stick to your time, then you need to pay a price for that. But you've got a different view, the content.
Whilst they definitely deserve some sort of punitive measure, and we can talk around that, their content and their responses were far richer.
Sure. Okay, well, let's talk Mahompi.
So for me, in as much as that team, it managed to identify the real issues, but the challenge was them not able to give us a clear solution on what the solution is.
For me, as someone who enjoys and who does a lot of presentations, it's almost inexcusable for me when somebody eats into someone else's time. You know, but should a whole group be penalized because of that? I guess that's something we need to decide here today. I almost feel like I forgot the content in one of the groups. Like I just had nothing kind of stands out for me.
Give us context and then quickly get to the solutions. And even those were very flimsy for me. Very high level, greater dialogue with industry stakeholders, consumer education. Those are cop-outs.
So it seems clear then which team wins today, which means we have to identify who's going home in the losing team.
I think we can agree that we're looking at a bottom two.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're ready.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, teams. That was, I think, I want to say interesting, but I'd be lying. So it wasn't really interesting at all. I thought both teams were quite poor. So, normally we have a lot of debate around who the weakest contestant is, but we had to have that debate about both teams, which I think was quite challenging.
Yeah, I think for me what was interesting was just to hear that this is not only a problem that is affecting only South Africa, it's a global wide problem, and perhaps the solutions lie at looking even across the borders of South Africa, so that maybe possibly we can learn from other jurisdictions, and I think that point for me, I think it's very important. Yeah.
Great. Knox, from you as a former champion.
I think I would just implore the contestants to look beyond the hats that they wear in their normal day-to-day roles and really apply themselves to the problem faced in front of them and give us solutions, guys.
Look, for me, it ranged from like an absolute snooze fest in one group to kind of watching a train wreck happening, not even in slow motion, but in real time in the other group. I think what was kind of interesting for me, Masachaba, I think it's extremely poor form to eat into the time of your team members. It's unprofessional. And if this was if we were doing presentations or talking to clients, to eat into your colleagues' time it's almost unforgivable. So I think that for me was probably a low point in watching these presentations today. However, I think what we have to acknowledge is that we can send someone home, but of course they have to be in the losing group. And I think I'm sure all the viewers at home will agree with this, whilst watching Team B was like that train wreck unfolding in real time, what was really interesting was that the content was pretty good. There was something behind the sort of flustered Sumit. I actually felt like I needed to take some kind of heart medication while I was watching you trying to regain your composure.
You and me are like...
It was just panic stations, but there was some good content in there. So yeah, I mean, in today's contest, Team B, you are the winners, in spite of the sort of frenetic way that it unfolded. So all of you are safe from elimination. Team A, like I said, proper snooze fest. I feel like someone roofied me just as I started watching the presentation. It was really difficult to focus. And in fact, when we were discussing the presentation, my fellow judges and I, it was kind of like we couldn't really remember certain individuals in the team. We couldn't. There weren't really any good sort of takeaways. We were looking for those nuggets of like value, and there was just nothing that really stood out. The only thing you really did well was timekeeping. And really, I mean, I have something on my wrist that does that even better than you do. But perhaps the biggest challenge was because we had a number of wallflowers in the group. The best that we could do was identify the two people with the lowest scores, and we agreed on that unequivocally. So our two bottom scores are Dimitri and Fiona. Between the two of you, it was I can't even say it was forgettable, because it was almost like I couldn't remember you participating in the presentation. So Anele, Kevin and John, I need you to write on a piece of paper who you think should leave the competition today. Dimitri or Fiona? Who doesn't deserve to go forward in this competition? All right, can I ask you, Anele, could you hold up your piece of paper, please? One vote for Dimitri. Kevin, could you please hold up yours to the camera? 2 votes for Dimitri. John, I'd like to see who you voted for, even though it's all academic right now. Fiona. All right, so that's 2 votes for Dimitri and 1 for Fiona. Dimitri, your business in this contest has been permanently interrupted without any coverage. Your journey ends here. Goodbye. All right, congratulations, Fiona. I think, a lesson learned here. Please make sure that you don't just disappear into the background when we move into the next rounds. And the same message for all of you. It was very, very tight in the scoring. And just because you were in, just because you were in the winning group doesn't mean that you're all safe as we move into later stages of the competition. There were some low scores in the winning group, and as I said, timekeeping, failing in that is almost inexcusable. So well done to our top 8, who are now one step closer to becoming the Insurance Apprentice 2021. All right, so many thanks to our episode sponsor, the FSCA, and particularly you, Mahompi. I think
Thank you.
did a superb job as a judge, very relevant topic. And of course, I'd also like to thank our studio sponsor, Old Mutual Insure. So thank you all for tuning in, and join us next week where we crush some more dreams as we narrow down our top 6. So continue the interaction with us by sharing, commenting, and liking this episode. Remember the hashtag TIA2021. So from me, Simon Coleman, be safe, and I'll see you next week.